Hello there. Welcome to Paranormal Experienced with Kat Hobson. That's me. I am really enthusiastic about my show tonight. It's going to be so much fun. I have met Jenny Davis and investigated with her, and she informed me that was 12 years ago. We were at Old South Pittsburgh, and it was so much fun. The the experiences that we had there were great. She's a really good investigator. And in 12 years, we both advanced a little bit, I think. She's a photographer. She is a paranormal explorer. She goes all over the place. And when you see some of her photography, you're going to be so blown away. She has also brought some audio evidence that we're going to be listening to. But let's bring her in here, okay? It is Hi, Jenny.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. My daughter had a snow day today, so my whole day's been thrown off. So not just having the child home all day,
Well, that's true. And I'm going to say hey to Lori in chat. And that's who I was telling you we're going to have to get together and investigate with, because we investigate pretty often. So,
Yep.
And hey, Bonnie. So, I'm really glad you're here. I don't know why we haven't done this before now.
I don't know.
Because it's been like, I was so excited to see you in Gettysburg. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's a good investigator. Why are we investigating? Why are we just sitting here?
Right.
But it's just when you're at an event like that, it's hard to break away and go do a lot.
I know. It's like during the day you're at the event, and then by the time the event's done at like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, it's dinner time. Mm-hmm. And then you can't go on the battlefields after dusk.
Yeah.
So you're like, where can you go? And the only place you can go is to the bridge, and that's where everyone goes. So it's
and everyone's there.
Everyone's there, and some people aren't even investigating, but they don't give the respect to the people who are trying to investigate. So I'm like, it's not even worth the fight to go. Plus, the parking down there is bad.
Yeah, it's definitely limited.
But if you go, there's another bridge past Saks. Mm-hmm. It's called the Devil's Bridge or something, or the Suicide Bridge of Gettysburg. Mm-hmm. That was scary. I walked down there with a friend of mine. We're like, oh, there's another bridge. Let's go walk. We didn't realize how far the walk is from Saks.
Oh.
And we're like, oh. And then we got to the bridge, and it had a whole different feeling than Saks Bridge. It felt more heavy, more intense. We're like, okay, we're not staying here very long. And then we walked back to the main bridge.
When you get into a situation like that, especially if you don't really know the spirits that are supposed to be there, the first time I ever went to Saks, some of the local people let me go with them and took me. It was fun, but there were a lot of people.
Yeah. And then the first time I went, well, not the first time, but not last year, but the year before, me and my friend went, and we walked into the woods of Saks.
Yes.
And I had a rock thrown at me. I was scratched. I was like, okay, I'm leaving now. Something out here does not want me here.
It's like, I'm good. We're out. Right? I'm leaving now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Saks is cool. I like it more during the day. It's less crowded during the day.
Yeah.
I wish they would open the battlefields past dark so I can investigate, but it's fine. I have an investigation in Gettysburg right before the bash, so I'm gonna be good.
Where are you gonna go?
It's a newer place to the paranormal. It's called Rainworth Lodge. It's in Gettysburg. If I pull up the info here, it's a huge property. I think it's 32 acres.
Oh my gosh.
Gettysburg. Let me see if I can pick it up, find the info. And if you want, you can come with me because it's going to be a free investigation.
Oh, twist that arm, Jenny.
I know, right?
Harder. Yes, I'm going with you. Won't that be fun to be investigating together again?
Larry Eisler is coming with me, so that'll be fun. It was built in 1758. It's an old farm, a Civil War field hospital, a Confederate camp. A boy was held captive there. And it had registered slaves on the property.
Registered slaves.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but
I don't either. That's interesting, though,
I won
because
the investigation. I'm like, going, done, don't have to twist my arm.
well, I'm excited about getting to investigate together again. I was so impressed with your investigation.
And that
You
was
know,
12 years ago.
that was 12 years ago. That was a
Now
long
you have
time
to see
ago
what
for
I've
both of
done now.
us. Hopefully,
Like,
we're both better by now. So,
Larry in the chat can even say I'm better. I've investigated with him the last 2 years. Like, we
yeah.
happened to meet by mistake in April of 2023. And ever since, I've been on his Paraflix show. I've been investigating with him a lot. This year alone, we have 13 investigations together. So,
Cool beans.
yeah.
Well, how did you meet by mistake?
We were
There's no mistakes with that,
No,
right?
there's no mistakes. So we were at a Paracon together, which I didn't meet him at the Paracon. Like, we just happened to not meet before. Oh, stop her! Not harassing. No, don't listen to him. He's my older paranormal brother from another mother. So, like, we didn't meet during the day, but a friend of mine invited me to an old school in Wisconsin. It was supposed to be a really small group, and Larry and his teammate Dan was at the school already, and somehow 25 plus people showed up to the school for a private tour investigation, and Larry was filming.
Wow.
So we happened to meet there, and ever since we've been really good friends, investigating with each other. Like I said, he's become my paranormal older brother.
Well, I tell you what, it's really handy to have those because there's some places that you don't want to go alone as a
Right.
female, especially. I mean,
Yeah.
alone, period, but especially as a female.
Yeah.
And
He was, yeah.
it's good to have.
And like over the last couple of years, like I've gotten really good with my Estes method, and there's only a certain amount of people who I do Estes with at investigations. Like if it's a public event, I hardly ever do Estes because how I do my Estes, I channel. I don't even listen to spirit, this SB7. I just let spirit come through. There's only a certain amount of people I investigate and do Estes with because if I
you're
go
vulnerable when you're in Estes.
Yeah, and if I go in too deep, it's hard for me to come out. So those people know how to get me out of Estes safely. Unlike some people who just pull the headphones right off and don't slowly do it. So Larry's one of them. My mom knows. There's a couple other people that know how to take me out of Estes safely.
Right. Well, that's why you investigate with people you trust, right?
Yep.
I mean, I'm like that too. I learned because I used to just, anytime the opportunity came up, I'd run off and investigate with people.
Right.
And even the team that I joined here, which I thought was a lot more conservative with their investigation tactics than they turned out to be, made me nervous because I do feel like there's a vulnerability when you don't have faith in the people with you.
Yeah.
Do you find that?
Oh, yeah. That's why I really never do like public ghost hunts anymore, because you don't know what the energy people are bringing into the event or what if they have attachments or anything. Because if you bring in bad energy, that whole investigation can be turned into something totally different.
True.
Like I did a public investigation 2 weekends ago, I believe, with Larry and Scotty Work. I trust those guys. If I'm with them, I'll do a public event with them. But if it's like a bigger public ghost hunt, I really ever do it unless I know who's there. Like I went to Missouri State Penn last year and I trusted the people who were there. But I want to go back for a private because I have a feeling I'll get a whole different experience. Like the Mike and Chris from Tennessee Wraith Chasers are coming to Minnesota. I might do their event because I know Chris and Mike really well. But to get me to a public ghost hunt is really hard.
Well, I can see that. I mean, I I got spoiled for choice when I went out of the country to go do that,
Mm-hmm.
and we just went with local paranormal teams, and so that was really sweet.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were in places like from 700. It was like, really?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's what.
Larry's going to Ireland in September, and he keeps telling me I have to come. I'm like, I know, I want to go. It's older than the U.S.,
It is. Well, I'm
but it
going
takes
to
a while.
Ireland in September also with
Oh
Rick
yeah.
McCollum's tour. Yeah.
Oh, fun.
So
He's going with, um, I don't know
Chris,
which group he's going with.
yeah. Well, mine is Secret Ireland tours, and Rick McCollum is talent for it.
Mm-hmm.
And since he's like my paranormal brother, then
Right.
we went to Ireland with a tour that was terrible. I mean, to Scotland with a terrible tour. It was really terrible. But then to make up for it, we went back this year, and we were there right at 3 weeks, and we went from Edinburgh up above Inverness and everything in between.
Oh,
So
nice.
that was really cool. Yeah, May. And which Brittany? Oh, Michelle Roos.
Yep.
I love Michelle
Michelle
Roos.
and Brittany are
Yeah.
going as ambassadors, and he gets to go and film. I'm like, as soon as he leaves, I'm turning his Facebook off my timeline and gonna be like, not hearing, not seeing. I have a feeling he'll be blowing up my messenger with pictures from Ireland.
Well, I'm going to tell you that May Herndon, who does Secret Ireland tours, is very professional and very good. And the tour that I went to Scotland on, somebody had wanted to partner with her, and they were so bad that May pulled out of that partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that. So that's why I will never, ever go on any kind of mysterious adventure. So
I was going to say, I think we talked about that at Gettysburg.
Yeah. But, you live and you learn. But May Herndon is brilliant. Hi, Tom and Nicholas.
Hello.
And I just think that I'm really looking forward to seeing Ireland. I know he is too. But
that's my bucket list for 2026 is going across the ocean.
Well, I'll tell you that I've got some hookups in Scotland, girl. So we can.
See, I think if I
fun.
go, I'm not going to come back. That's the issue. I'll be just like, staying, bye.
Well, the problem with that is that the responsibilities insist that you come home.
Right.
So, but I will say that I can just picture you going into these places because the way that you investigate. And now I haven't investigated with you in over a decade.
12 years. Yeah.
But I know the places that you go, and I know your interest and your skill level because you were already skilled back then.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would be fantastic in these historic places.
Next year, for sure. It's on my list. I just have to start saving up for it and making sure my daughter's good at home before ditching the U.S. and traveling abroad. So,
well, it's if there's an emergency, you can always get back.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's not really any different than being here. If there's an emergency and you're in California or Massachusetts or something.
Right. Yeah.
But you've been to so many places. I cannot ask you what's your very favorite without you telling us some of the ones that you've been to.
Mm-hmm.
Where have you been?
So I've been to Waverly Hills a couple of times. I've been to Bobby Mackey's before it was torn down. I've been to Old South, that's where we met.
Yeah.
I've been to Fairfield County Infirmary up in Ohio. I've been to Madison Seminary up in Ohio that Adam Kimmel owns.
Mm-hmm.
I've been
Very
to
cool guy.
Ashmore, Indiana State Sanitarium. I've been to Hinsdale finally last year for the first time.
Did you go?
Yes. And that was a thing. I was like, I wanted to go, but I had reservations because in 2012, I had picked up a attachment from a friend who had gotten to Hinsdale. So in the back of my head, I'm like, do I ever go to Hinsdale? What would happen if I go? And I happened to go last summer while I was up in New York doing Wildwood Sanitarium. And I was like, okay, Dan's been at me for getting me to come. So I finally went, and I picked up another attachment from Hinsdale last summer. I'm like, okay, one and done. I'm good. I don't need to go back to him. I've been to the 1912 Hoover House out in Rainsboro, PA.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot. Too many to count. I'm super excited. Next month, I'm going to Eloise Asylum up in Detroit. I went there last year for a day tour and fell in love. And this next month, me and Larry and a group of friends are going to Eloise to investigate. So I'm super excited. And then later that month, I get to do USS North Carolina. So I'm super excited.
Oh, I'm jelly on that one. That place is astounding from everyone I've heard about.
I've heard so much good things about it. And I was supposed to go in 2013, but money and things happen. So finally, I had a friend who's hosting an event down there next month say, hey, do you want to come and do aura photos? And you get to go walk around the whole battleship all day long. I'm like, you don't have to twist my arm for this one. So we're going to go do the battleship. And then the next day I get to go down to Savannah. I've never been to Savannah. And
oh my gosh, you're going to love it.
I'm super excited because I've been to St. Augustine Lighthouse. I'm like, I need to go to Savannah. Just like, that's the bucket list items, like go to Savannah. And I have friends out there, Patrick and Marley out there that live in Savannah. So I'm going to catch up with them while I'm in town.
I've got to tell you, I think Moon River is closed now, Moon River Brewery, but I've done a couple of investigations there. But there's a place called the Sorrel, Sorrell, Sorrel Weed House.
Ooh.
And there's a group there called Savannah Paranormal. And they're very professional, very good. And they did an investigation at Sorrel Weed. I had already fallen in love with it. I'd gone and done a tour. And it was so amazing that when in fact, Lori, my friend Lori in chat, we traveled to investigate together. And we had gone there. It was amazing. The carriage house was actually more active than the house, and the house had some activity.
Oh, wow.
But we were in one of the rooms in the carriage house, and just sitting there, and it was hot and stuffy. And I'm like, okay, I'm really tired of sitting in the floor and talking when nothing is showing up. And about that time, I just thought it. I didn't say it. About that time, a shadow came out of the closet and just went along the bottom of the wall and just shot out the door. And I'm like, well, okay then.
Right.
I'm up again. But it was just, I mean, because they're telepathic. They know everything that we.
Oh yeah.
But I was just like, well, maybe I'll sit here a little longer now. Except now it just went out that door. And when we were walking away, there was a child spirit because she had me on her SLS. I think it was SLS. Lori, was it SLS? And there was a child holding my hand as we're walking out.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And I love my XLS and SLS. I have 2 XLSs and 1 SLS. And the first time I used my XLS was at Sheboygan Insane Asylum up here in Wisconsin. And it was Dave, me, and Shane, and a bunch of other people. It was a public ghost tour thing. And Dave was communicating with a little girl, and on my XLS, I captured a little child figure standing right next to him, holding his hand.
Isn't that wild how they do that?
I know.
I
Larry,
mean,
leave me alone. He's picking on me in the chat. I don't like these
yes,
towns. Like
and
Wisconsin has a whole bunch of different town names that I can never pronounce, and there's some
well,
in
some of them are weird. Some of those Indian names are very strange. And so April is Denise Pridemore's cousin, and she's like, someone from Wisconsin.
I'm technically from Minnesota, but I go to Wisconsin too much.
Yes, never too much when they're friends.
Right.
But
I feel like I always go to Wisconsin or Illinois or like Ohio or PA at this point.
I go to Ohio. A friend of mine owns that old Paulding jail. Have you been there?
Not yet. That's
Oh my
one
gosh,
place on my
girl.
list. So when I come home from Gettysburg, I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to do it slowly because there's an event in Kansas that weekend after Gettysburg. So I'm thinking if I just take my time coming home, just dive down a little bit, go to Kansas, do that event, and come back and be gone for like 2 weeks, but that's fine.
Well, that's what moms are for.
Right.
So, but of course now I'm the babysitter. So there's that. Not very often, but sometimes.
Mhm.
But well, if you get a chance, because Paulding is like 19 miles away from Fort Wayne Airport. It's just right there
Okay.
on the Indiana line. But it is one of, if not the, I'm trying to think, but I think it is the most haunted place I've ever been.
Making note in my head
Yes.
to message Larry about it.
Yes. And that was that's the one that I was on Portals for Hell about.
Okay.
And my very, very short stint because they busted through the wall and found bones while we were there. And I was just
okay. I remember that. Yeah.
So it's really a cool place if you get a chance. And Shelley Robertson is who owns that.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to Ohio in June. I'm going to FC Icon that Adam Kimmel holds.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to
Shelley will be there.
Oh, cool. And then I'm going to Ohio State Reformatory the day after.
I love there.
I love Ohio State. I love Greg. I love Kathy. And I love some of the tour guides there. So I'm super excited to finally do a private overnight there. Because I've done day tours there, and I caught my first full body apparition in the solitary. So going back 12 years later and finally investigating is a dream come true for me.
Well, Lori used to have her birthday party there. And so she would invite us to come and investigate with her.
Nice.
And I'm going to tell you, it's off the chain. I loved it. So
I'll have to make note of that and send a message to Larry and be like, "You coming with me?" At this point, I just send messages to Larry. I'm like, "Keep this day open. You're coming with me."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yes, ma'am."
Well, what else is kind of what are your bucket lists?
Bucket lists. I'm checking one off in October. I'm going to the Washoe Club. Super excited. I run a private overnight there, so I'm going to go do that in October. So that was a big bucket list item for me.
Yes, that would be.
Another bucket list item is the Nevada State Prison. That I can't remember her name. I think it's Shannon or Sharon that owns it out in Nevada, not that far from the Washoe Club. And then another bucket list item would be Trans-Allegheny or Mountains.
Oh, yeah.
Those two are on my bucket list.
Trans-Allegheny is big on mine. And when I first started doing the show, back when God was a child, it was, I got to interview one of their guides, and I was really surprised. I didn't realize, I didn't realize how big it was. And I also didn't realize how active it was. So that is huge on my bucket list. I'm going to be doing that too at some point.
My friend's supposed to be setting up a private, so she's going to let me know when that is, and hopefully I'll be able to make it down. Because I've never been to West Virginia. And, like, West Virginia Penn,
Yeah,
Kansas
there's a
Lady is
couple.
there. And now, if Sweet Springs Sanitarium ever opens up again, I want to go there. And then college, the hospital on College Hill is not that far.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a big triangle of
Yes.
conservation sites.
Hi, Jason. Drop the farm from the list.
Conjuring, yeah, I'm not going to the Conjuring house anytime soon.
Well, that was a big bunch of drama, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm like,
So,
once that all started happening, I'm like, well, until a new owner's there, I will not go. Like, we've driven past it. We went to Connecticut for the very first Warrens event, the big Paracon they hosted, a couple 3 years ago, and we drove past the Conjuring house, but it was all closed off because they were doing their live streaming Halloween event that weekend. But we met up with Andrea, I think that Sunday, and had breakfast with her and her dad and her sister in town. So that was cool.
yeah, they're good people.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah.
well, have they gotten that thing settled out yet?
No,
I don't.
I just found out that Jason Hawes created a Facebook group, so he can keep people updated on that because of all the lawsuits and stuff going on.
Because
I'm
there's
like,
a lot.
there's a lot, and I'll be seeing Cody and Satori and Jason next month in Wisconsin at an event, so probably get more updates then. But yeah, when that all started to go downhill, I was like, yep, here we go, it's gonna blow up.
And boy, did it ever, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that was crazy.
And she's still just going off, like, oh my god. I'm like, dude, go get into a mental hospital, please.
Anything. Anything to find peace.
Right?
Within yourself, because, if you need help to do that, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But
right. April is the Eclair. It's an Eclair. April 11th to the 13th, I believe. Let me see if I can pull it up here. It's the Midwest Meta Paracon Eclair, April 11th to the 13th. And they have Adam Berry coming. They have Aaron Sagers, Jason Haas, Cody and Satori, Mike Vaxacker, if that's how you say his last name.
Rick Sacker,
yep. They have Aaron Sagers. They have so many people. They have Joe Frankie from the Warrens Society coming. I want to say they have. I can't remember the whole list. It's crazy. It's a first year event too. So I'm gonna go Friday. I'm gonna go Friday and see friends. So,
well, hopefully that will be perfect. It's so hard because you want to support people when it's their first time doing it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh dear.
Oh,
I've been to those that it was like, oh dear.
Right. Ronnie LeBlanc will be there. Trying to go through some of their people. Yeah, like Cody and Satori will be there, which is really cool. Jason. And they have like 4 different investigations, so that's really cool.
That is really cool.
Sherry from Ghost Hunters will be there. Aaron Houdini will be there.
I like him. He's
really cool.
He is really cool. When he first started coming out, he was very protective because of his name. And I'm like, it's okay. People are going to love you. People want to talk. Right. I'm talking to you. I want to talk to you.
Right.
And he was very like,
go ahead.
Well, I was just like, he was very clenched a lot.
Right.
don't know if
Yeah,
it was his first time being out or not, but he was very uptight.
like first year events, I'm always weary on, like especially when they're big and they cost like $400 a table. I'm like, so I just go as attendee and see
Yes.
if it's worth it. Like I last weekend was Missouri Paracon, and I wanted to go, but my mom had surgery last week, so I couldn't go. But I was being updated by a bunch of friends who went, and next year I will definitely be at Missouri Paracon, and probably be at this Eclair Paracon next year if they host it.
Well, I think it's really fun that because that's where the interaction and the getting new friends and camaraderie and stuff comes into play, because it's so nice to be able to just like, you know, that last
Think about
night
it.
when we were in Gettysburg, just chilling, sitting around
Oh
outside,
yeah,
shooting the
Sunday night.
breeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's so mellow, and I like being there. That because everybody leaves Sunday because they have to be at work Monday, and I'm like, I'm flying out Monday. There's less people,
Right.
so and it was so nice. And do you know I've been getting feedback on those bells? The
I know Stacy and her husband have had experiences with it. I really haven't had time to bring mine out,
Yeah,
but I
but
know he's had it.
that was so much fun to do that. And I told you that I had one that was a little bit more ornate, but see, isn't that
Yep,
cool?
that's cool.
And this is the one that goes off, and I keep it in my office.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be doing something in the front of the house or whatever, and I'll hear it. I'm like, oh, my watch grabbed something there. But, I was just like, hello, because I'm
Right.
pretty sure it's a family. So,
Mm-hmm.
unturned pages.
That's my podcast.
I know it is. That's why I was like,
Uh,
oh, there's that.
like last weekend, or not last weekend, but the weekend before, my friend had the dead bell from Ghost Shop or whatever one it
Oh,
is that
yeah, I
makes
saw
the
that.
bell from the dead or whatever. That was going off really crazy for us at the end of our session, and then I guess it continued to go off most of the evening. So that's another piece of equipment I'm probably going to be buying this year.
But, I get tickled because it's such random stuff
Right?
that they'll play with. And the things, a lot of times I'll take all my, woo equipment with me someplace and it never gets touched, but something like a bell or a toy or whatever is just like, oh, so that's what you want to play with. All right.
Right.
I will leave that up there for you. But
Mm-hmm.
with mine, I think it's like my dad or, other people who may be coming through here. And it was interesting. Medium was telling me who's here and whatever. So I
Yeah.
was like, oh, well, I knew that. I knew that too. Okay. But
Yeah, definitely.
Bonnie says, just what you need, more equipment.
I
Hey,
have to test it out.
it's an
Like
issue sometimes.
last year at Gettysburg, I got the piece of equipment that I had been waiting for a lot of years, couple years.
What was it?
Jeff Fent makes the boxes, the ghost boxes.
Mm-hmm.
He makes them out of wood and builds the case and everything. And I finally got a hold of him. I had to, I think Adam Kimmel had to put a good word in for me to get one. But he brought it to Gettysburg, and I finally got it. That's the most expensive piece of equipment I have. It's my vent box. It cost me
Really?
$600 to get because he built it
Right.
all.
Right.
But the pieces of wood that he built it with is from Eloise. So he builds boxes from haunted locations, which is really cool.
That is really cool.
So I've been playing with that. When I see him in June, he has to fix mine because mine decided to fall out of the car one day. But it's
I
still
hate when they go rogue like that.
right. And Larry's seen it. Like if I'm in Estes, I usually turn my Fat Box on, and it's really cool when after the session, Larry's like, when you said something, the box said something at the same time. So it's very correlating, and
Now that's very cool.
What I say to a higher standard during sessions.
Well, yeah, it does. That's incredible.
Yeah,
Does that
Larry and
happen
my
often? Because I don't know anyone else that happens often with.
I know it's happened when me and Larry went to Jericho. It's happened, I think, a couple other times on investigations with Larry and me. That when I say something, it comes to the Fat Box too. But now Larry wants to take it from me, and another friend wants to take it from me, so I have to be very careful with my box, because if I put it down, it will disappear by either him or Larry. Those
You're
two
funny.
are fighting over my Fat Box. I'm like, you all need to go talk to Jeff and get your name on the waiting list, because Jeff fills very fast, and he is very high wanted box creator. So, but if I walk out of Gettysburg or FCI Con this year with another box, don't be surprised.
Well,
I
if
love
it
the
works,
box, right?
if it works,
Mm-hmm.
but you'll have to show him to me at Gettysburg.
Yeah, I'll bring him.
Okay.
And I think Jeff's making a box for the silent auction at Gettysburg as well. I know he did last year. But yeah, Jeff fills his schedule with orders of the boxes so fast. Michael, hush. I wish I could go.
To Atlanta?
Yeah.
It's not a bad one. So
I want to go, but I will see Michael end of next month anyway, so I'll see him on the battlefield or on the battleship.
you know, is it public what you're doing on the battleship?
Yep.
Is it?
It's called. Let me pull up. It's called Booth on the Battleship. It is April.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
26th. April 26th. It's hosted by Katie McVeigh. So you get, with your ticket, you get full day access to the battleship. So even before the event, you can go walk around, take photos, do whatever you want on the battleship. Like, within reason, you can do whatever you want. And then 6 p.m. is the kickoff to the event. And she has Shane Pittman, Josh Purvis, Michael John Angus. She has Sarah Lomos, Vince Keelan, Sean Austin, Rochelle and Brian, Mike, and the guys from Haunted Files. They have Mary Lynn and Michael there. I'll be there. And that, I think, goes up until like 3 a.m. on the battleship.
That'll be a good time.
Tickets are really cheap. I think right now she has a deal on them. Let me see if I can pull up the prices here. Hold on. I think there's only a couple of tickets left. Tickets are $158 for, and that includes all day admission to the event. So
that's incredible. I think that sounds like a deal.
Right? You need to come down.
I do not know. When is it? April?
April 26th. It's the last weekend of April. The weekend after Easter.
I may be booked for the Ozark Mountain UFO Con. I'll have to check those dates. But I will definitely look into that, because that would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of my bucket list places.
I know, when she announced that she was doing an event on the battleship, I was like, don't have to twist my arm. I'm going.
Well, Rick McCollum they were filming a movie there. And he's such a bad dancer that the only movie he ever danced in, he got shot in the face. So apparently he must be really bad. But it was funny because he and Kane investigated while they were there filming.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, yeah, and that was back in the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I do give them crap for being older than me. But it's so funny that they were in, because that's Mansfield is where Hollywood Ghost Hunters formed, because they were filming and had an experience there,
Mm-hmm.
and neither one of them knew the other was into it. Hey, Gina. She was talking about the battleship, the
USS
USS North Carolina.
North
North
Carolina.
Carolina? Yeah. And so maybe we could talk about it, Gina. So it would be fun.
It
But
would.
Gina and I met on my first trip to Scotland.
Oh,
The
fun.
the trip from Hades. But it is kind of far for you. But we'll find something in between. But I just love your adventures. Out of all the, because you go everywhere, I want to know about Wildwood. How did that feel when you were there? What did you experience?
So when I went last July, I had brought Shane Pittman and Josh Purvis because I had won the investigation the year before at the Battlefield Bash.
Mm-hmm.
So they came, and my friend brought these different, they kind of were like the Delco glasses, so the ones that shoot the red light, but they were different at the same time. And Josh and Shane wanted to try a different type of like Estes. So I didn't have the like spirit box going. I just had headphones so I could noise out what they were saying. And it was really weird because it's red light. It put me into like a trance. And I guess they were communicating with a nurse from back when the sanitarium was open. And I kept seeing her walk through, and I could like tell you like she was wearing the nurse apron type of thing, the right skirt type of outfit with the hat, and I could narrow her down to like the T. And I didn't look at the pictures beforehand down in the entryway. And when we finished, I looked at the pictures with all the nurses at one time, and I clearly described one of them in the photos, which was really cool.
That is really cool.
I wish somebody recorded it, but they didn't.
Yeah, that's what Bonnie said.
It was like a 20-minute session. But that was really fun. And then I had slept in the doll room that night, and my equipment kept going off. So I didn't sleep very much at Wildwood. But it was in the doll room. I caught one of my EVPs, I think I sent you. And I asked, do you like potatoes? Just like a random question. Like, do you like potatoes? And I clearly on the EVP I sent you, you will hear, I like potatoes back.
Well, we've got that. Do you want to play it?
Yeah, you can.
It's the audio, Carl.
It's the video one.
Oh, the video one?
Yeah.
Oh, MP4. Yeah.
And I was the only one in the room at the time when I caught that EVP.
That is so cool.
Do you like pizza? Do you like hot dogs? Do you like potatoes? How about eggs? Do you like eggs?
That was a pretty long answer. That wasn't just yeah.
Yeah, it was, I like potatoes. And you can clearly hear it. It took me a couple of times because I was like, am I just like imagining what I'm hearing? But yeah, it's clearly that's clear and class A. But the funny thing is, the night before I was at Hinsdale, and I asked, I think it was, do you like hot dogs or something? And I got an EVP that said, yeah, I like hot dogs. I'm like, what is up with the questions about food?
Food gets responses because food is universal.
Yep.
Right? I mean, it really, really is. There's not a lot that is going to be a given for every human.
Right.
Right? And I think you would get a response even if you were like at a Native American type location or something, because if it's old enough, hello, darling, it would be, how are you?
She asked you
Good.
how you were. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, go give me hugs and bye bye. Go to bed. You have school tomorrow.
Good night.
Remember, she says good night. She says good night.
She's adorable.
But yeah, I like to ask the non-common answers as much as possible when I'm not under Estes. Because when I investigate, I'm mostly about 50% under Estes at this point. Because people just like when I go under Estes. But I like asking the non-common questions because you never know. You never know what you're going to get.
Well, I think that gets more response, because if I were in that position, I mean, especially if you're in an active, well-investigated area that people are coming through in droves, they have to be so bored.
Right.
I mean, if you don't bring creativity, you're not going to get much.
Right.
Because they're just like, you didn't do any homework. You didn't come up with anything. I'm not even talking to you.
Right.
And, the craziest thing I've ever gotten was, it was the place I got my first shadow figure on film. And then I got a really great EVP where I was leaving and I couldn't go back because I wasn't live listening. I was just tossing something out there as we were leaving. And I said, yeah, did everyone in here die from a heart attack? And when I got home, and I didn't even listen immediately, but it was like, no, they shot me. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to go back. Because this guy is giving me this and I'm not responding. And I can't get back in because they're tearing it down. It was condemned already when we were there, but we had permission to be there. But it's one of those hospitals where whatever made them decide to close it, they just walked out the door. The beds were still made. They still had computers and files on the desks. All they did was lock the doors. And that was somewhat freaky. So, they had one of those tanks that they use to keep you from getting the bends when you're diving, barometric.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Chamber. And that was still in there. So, I mean, it was a cool place, but it had stuff. So I think that the more just general commonplace conversation that you can have, or, like you come up with creative questions, not just, when did you die? Why are you here?
Right.
They don't want to talk about when they died. That was not a good day.
Sometimes people know they died, so they're like, "Wait, what?
I know, right?
About you, I'm dead. What do you mean?"
Yeah.
So.
Well, you're offended. And Gina was in Scotland with us. She and Stephanie, and she says that at Missouri State Pen, they were asking a very grumpy spirit what kind of music he liked, and he said country, and so that was fun.
I love
you're entertaining.
I want to go back to Missouri State for a private.
I've never been. I've never been to Missouri except to fly over it.
I went last June, I think it was, and it was for a public event. The people from the Burns Museum were there, so they brought some of the haunted items. And it was a public event with some other company, which I don't talk about anymore because they're horrible.
I have one of those.
But they did an event, and so you could spend time with the haunted items from the Burns Museum, and then the other times you would go and be moved around. To other areas of the penitentiary, and I think we were down in Solitary, and it was really cool because we were doing the human pendulum, and you're supposed to like sway back and forth really gently. That's the idea of the human pendulum.
Yeah.
Mine, I was being pushed. I was like, dang. And everywhere I go, I'm pretty sure everywhere I go, I make the dominant male spirits pissed off wherever I go. And I think it's because I'm such a dominant energy, like a dominant female energy personality, that they don't like it. When I was at OBI, Old Baraboo Inn, a couple weekends ago with Larry, I had a couple of the mobsters, John Looney and Al Capone, really don't like me there. Because I was like, why are you here? Why did you kill people? Blah, blah, blah. And Larry was in an Estes, and it was the first group of the night. And it was about 15, 20 minutes of him being in Estes. So I'm like, okay, we're going to tap my friend Larry out, because we only technically stay in Estes, I like to say, between 15 and 20 minutes, because it's the safe time frame.
Right.
And I was about to tap him out, and he goes, wait. I'm like, okay, what do you want me to wait for? And he goes, you're a bitch. I'm like, what? And he says it again. I'm like, am I one because I'm such a dominant personality and you don't like that? Being told what I'm going to do? And he goes, back up, sit down. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to back up. I'm not going to sit down. You can't tell me what to do. And it just kept going back between me and the spirit through Larry. And I walked out to the hallway of the basement, and then I came right back in. He goes, sit down. I'm like, no, it's time for Larry to come out of Estes now. And he said that I'm a biatch again. And that kept going throughout all the areas of the old bar / saloon. And I'm like, okay. So I pissed off some mobsters that night because they were calling me a bitch everywhere I went. I'm like, I think it's just because I'm such a dominant personality and dominant energy that the male spirits don't like it.
Well, it's not just, I mean, I get called that a lot. I get that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm just like, I used to worry about it. And, I'm like, I'm a lovely person. Damn it.
Right?
Well, you don't know.
We were up at the asylum up in Wisconsin, and it had just turned like right after midnight. It was the last group of the night. It was me, Larry, and a couple of his teammates at the time. It had just turned past midnight, and the whole energy in that cafeteria / chapel area changed. And we had the Phasm box going of Larry's. And we're like, okay, is the priest here? Are the patients here? Nurses, doctors, who is here? And Larry's like, who's the girl next to me, which was me? And through the Phasm box, it said slut. And then we pointed to the tour guide, and she was called the C word. And then my friend was called a bitch. We're like, do you not like females down here?
You think?
And we made contact because we had a feeling it was the priest. And we're like, is this the priest? And he's like, yes. We're like, priest shouldn't be saying this.
The priest was the priest called somebody the C word?
Yeah, I'm like, dude. And we knew it wasn't the like radio or anything because it was a Phasm box. We're like,
yeah, well, A, and B, they don't have that the airwaves.
Right? And we're like, okay, that's weird. And we went down to the tunnels, and they kept calling me the slut. I'm like, I just got leveled up in the spirit world, I guess.
That's just crazy. I mean, but I think that you're right about it's women, especially assertive women.
Mm-hmm. Who are,
it's just kind of like, it's just the same as like if you're like, I used to work for a refrigeration construction company, and at one point I was the only female.
Mm-hmm.
And I had like, what, 28 men out in the field.
Mhm.
And I would have to get permits pulled. I'd have to get inspections done. I was dealing with, you know, people that didn't want to do that because they wanted to go fishing and stuff, and especially in Louisiana. And so I would have to be kind of stronger. And so I get that sometimes I'm a little much, but I get that all the time. I get bitch all the time.
Yeah.
And
So I'm.
it
Oh,
used
go
to
ahead.
upset me. And
Yeah,
because
I
it was
just
so
let it roll.
consistent, and now I'm just like, yeah, and don't forget it.
Yep.
You
I'm like,
know?
well, it was funny because I used to go investigate an old YMCA out in Illinois, and like Al Capone used to be there. John Looney haunts there a lot, and the first couple of times, John Looney likes to hop into people, like take a van, jump into them.
Mhm.
So that was his thing with me, was taking me over. And a couple weekends ago, we were at OBI, which is I think like 4 hours away from each other. But well, I'm like, I was like, I got to the basement. I'm like, I know this energy. It's not Al Capone. It feels really familiar. Like, and then I popped in my head. I'm like, it's John Looney. And Shelly, who owns OBI, is like, I don't know who that is. I'm like, he is a mobster that haunts Illinois a lot. And he and Al Capone don't get along. Like, I've had Estes methods when they fight. Like, they will fight over Estes, like, through me.
Really? What kind of fight?
Like, they will call each other names, try to, like, egg them on, both of them. Like, I've had spirits communications with them with that. I'm like, okay, you two don't get along, split up, go back to different areas. Like,
To your own
break it
corners.
up to two
Yeah.
corners. And when we were at OBI, I'm like, this isn't the energy of Al Capone. Like, OBI is usually Al Capone haunt. Like, that's the energy we usually deal with at OBI. But this time I'm like, this isn't Al Capone. This is the energy of John Looney. And I turned on my fret box. I'm like, Looney, are you here? And I heard his voice come through. Yeah, what? I'm like, why are you here? You don't haunt this place. Like, I've never experienced you at OBI before. He goes, I like you. I'm like, go back to Rock Island, dude. Go back to Rock Island. It's like, you're not going to jump me today. You're not going to get in me. You're not going to piss me off. So I finally got him to go back to Rock Island. But I was like, dude, go away. I don't want to talk to you.
Seriously. I mean, was he following you from there? Or did he
I
just
don't
happen to
know.
jump over?
I think they can jump over
I
because
think
I'm
so.
like, that makes sense. I know Al Capone haunts several different places throughout the Midwest too. Like Al Capone sometimes is known at Rock Island. I know he's haunts some other locations in the Midwest. So I don't know, but I was like, Looney, go back to where you came from, dude. I don't want to talk to you. I didn't come here to talk to you,
You're not who I'm here for.
right?
Yes. You know,
But
I just think that it's kind of funny when spirits show up and you know they're showing up for you,
mm-hmm.
you know, because like you said, he likes you.
Yep.
And I had never really thought about that before, that they can just kind of tool around at will. But
Yeah.
why wouldn't they? I mean, they're
Right?
not bound corporally.
Like, I had gone to Juliet 2 years ago, Juliet Prison out in
Mhm.
Juliet, Illinois,
Yeah.
and it's known that Gacy haunts it.
Yeah.
Um, a few big name mobsters and serial killers haunted it. Um, Richard Speck is known to haunt the infirmary of Juliet, and it was funny because it was the last group of the night. I don't think Shane Pittman was with me at that time. But we had the spirit box going, just a normal SB7, I think it was. And we were in the hospital, and I said, "Is Richard Speck here?" And he's the one that killed a lot of nurses at the time and got sent to Juliet for a short amount of time before he went to, I think, Stateville. And we got his name through the spirit box, which, if it's coming through radio, no one talks about Richard Speck anymore. It's like, that's not a serial killer people talk about anymore.
Right.
So we got his name through the spirit box, and we were in the old OR, I think it was, and we're like, "What did you do in here? Like, why was your job in the hospital?" Because back then, the prisoners had jobs they would do throughout the day, and his was to help the nurses in the hospital, which I found amusing because he killed nurses. That's what his
Right.
thing was. So I'm like, why would you put someone that killed nurses in a hospital?
Helping nurses.
Yeah, helping nurses. I'm like, are you just asking for trouble here?
Well,
But
I mean, his victim of choice, right?
right? I'm like,
Crazy.
and it was funny because we got the spirit box. We're like, I think it was like something like, I like nurses. I'm like, okay. And then he kept telling people to leave, like one by one, and describing, like, we would see girl with glasses, leave. Boy with hat, leave. And it was me, the very last person in that room was me. And I'm like, what are you going to do to me? And he goes, I like you. I'm like, okay, I'm going now. Bye.
Yes. I'm out.
I'm out. Bye.
No doubt, girl.
But that was, yeah.
For the
Julie
serial
was,
killer to choose you to stay in there.
yeah. I was
No,
like,
I don't think so.
no, I'm good. I want to go back to Juliet, but they're not open to investigations anymore. That was like I think it was the last event before they decided to shut down.
Right.
So I was super lucky to be there that weekend. And I spent 2 nights there with Dave Schrader and Shane Pittman. So
Those two guys are hilarious.
I love those 2
I
guys.
can't believe you get any investigating done with them around.
It's hard. It's definitely hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're interesting. And Tom Nicholas says you may see him in Wisconsin.
Yay.
So,
Never seen him in a while. It's been a
isn't he
while.
awesome? I like him.
love him.
Yeah, he's pretty special. But, well, what is, I know Estes has to be your favorite because you're very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But what else is something that you really, a technique that you really like to use?
I like to use definitely my vent box, like just sitting in the room with my vent box going and asking questions is my second favorite. Especially if I'm not under SS, I can hear it and remember what it says.
Yeah. I think I love a spirit box, but I get really good just plain open air EVPs. And I have finally learned to live listen because it's amazing what's coming through. And it's like the guy at the hospital, we've like, if I'd been live listening, I would have been able to respond to him then.
Right.
And so that really got me to the point that, I just do that because I felt like I let him down. Have you ever had a situation where that was a response that you had to something? Did you miss something that you found later that felt like they were trying to get a conversation started with you or trying to give you some important information?
I think my time at Velisca, my very first time at Velisca, I sent you that EVP. So if you want to play that EVP, we can do that, and I can talk about that whole situation.
Let me go and find that.
And for people listening, you have to turn up your audio for this.
Do you like pizza? Do you like hot dogs? Do you like potatoes?
Okay.
Not that one. The other
Let me
one.
go back and find it. Talk amongst yourselves.
So this Velisca
I downloaded it, so I'm just going to find it again.
2011, I believe, 2011, 2012. And it was a group of me and 7 friends. We met Johnny Hauser, who was the caretaker of the house. We met him at the cemetery, paid our respects. It was sunny, it was bright, it was like 75, it was the middle of summer. And then we went to the house. He gave us a tour. It felt nice. No signs of anything wrong. He left. We started setting up equipment. Me and my friend set up a camera up in the attic and 2 voice recorders. And at that time, we heard our voices being like whispered into our ears. Like you could feel the breath on your face type of thing. We're like, okay, that happened. And we went down to the main floor and was setting up equipment. I set up a voice recorder in the main floor bedroom, which is where Lena and Ina slept, the 2 neighbor girls who stayed the night. That night that they all got killed. And then all of a sudden we started hearing ping, 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 ping from coming outside. We're like, what is that noise? And we're like, so we went out to the kitchen and looked through the kitchen door. And all of a sudden we see like this size hail coming down. We're like, what the heck just happened? It was sunny, it was bright, like no signs of storm coming in. Those golf ball size hail, not even golf ball, like softball size hail, broke all the original windows on the one side of the house from when the house was built. We're like, okay, glass is flying in at us, the house is shaking, what the heck are we supposed to do? And I was texting Johnny Hauser. He goes, go to the cellar. We're like, we're not going outside and getting hit in the head with these big golf balls, softball size hail. You're crazy, dude. He's like, just hang out in the house then. We're like, glass is literally flying in at us. Like, it went from one side of the house to the other. And the Axe house is not big. It is a very small house. We're like, okay, the storm has to stop sometime soon. It can't hail for much longer. And it finally stopped. I called him, like, you need to come to the house now. Like, now. He goes, why? There's nothing happening. I'm like, come to the house. He shows up. He goes, what the hell happened? I'm like, look at the hail on the porch. Look at the windows. Look at the glass. We need to clean up here. And he says, okay, I have to go back into town, get wood to cover up the windows, clean up the glass and everything. And we all left the house to go outside to the barn, and some of us went into town. That's when we caught this EVP.
All right. Now I'm hoping this is the right one. So fingers crossed. It's black. Is it supposed to be black?
No, I think that doesn't look right. The one I sent you was just a voice record. Voice.
Oh, I thought it was the.
Let's see if I can grab it. Hold on one sec. I want to save it.
All right. I just popped it over in my drive so that I can, because it won't download it out of my email.
Oh, weird.
Well, it said that it couldn't scan it, and I'm like, whatever.
We'll have technology, right?
Can't scan file for viruses. Download anyway. You wouldn't send me a virus, would you, girl?
No.
Okay. I think I'm getting my workaround here. This says it's the same video. Let's see if it'll work. I'm going to remove the one that I have there now. I'm going to remove the potato one. I don't want to ban from studio. No, we're not going to do that. I'm just that's so personal. I mean, hello.
Right?
I don't want to ban
Hello.
anybody. Let's see. Video file.
If anything.
It's still black like that.
Okay, let me see if I can do it on my end.
Okay.
Let's see here. Pull up the screen share that I just did. That says Jenny. Okay, I'm gonna play it. Hold on. Let me make sure my
Okay.
volume. I can play it again.
Yeah.
Did you hear it?
I did, but I couldn't make it out. What did he say?
Stop moving around. And then if you listen to it after the show, you could hear the hitting, like him throwing the axe on her. So in the beginning, you hear her screaming, and then you hear him say, "Stop moving around," and then you hear the axe.
Wow.
And this was all when no one was in the house, no one was outside, because everyone had either went into the shed, and you can't hear anything from the shed in the house, or left to go into town. So no one was in the house when this was captured.
Wow.
It's a nerve-wracking EVP for sure.
That is a nerve-wracking EVP.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the thing with that is that it's so, that is the only thing that bothers me when I'm investigating is if I do get something of that nature. And I mean, not that, that's particularly disturbing, right? Because you know what's happening.
Yeah.
And that had to blow your mind.
We didn't listen back to any of our recorders until we were driving home, because it was like 4.5, 5 hour drive. So we're all listening to recorders on the way home. And my friend at the time had her headphones on and listened to this. She literally threw her headphones at the driver and started to cry. And then we pulled over and we all were listening to it and we all were crying. We're like, this is the most creepiest EVP we've ever caught. And I sent it to Johnny House and he goes, no one's caught an EVP like that before. And from what I've heard from Johnny since then, Brandon Alvis has an EVP just like it, but it's just me and him who have EVPs like that. And Johnny calls that night we were there the worst night to happen since the killings.
Yeah.
At the house. We're like, He goes, when are you coming back? I'm like, not coming back.
Nope. I'm good.
If you could promise me a sunny, nice summer day, no storms, no hail, no nothing, I can be there. But if a storm pops out of nowhere, I'm out beyond out. Because the only places that got hit that night were the house of Lena and Ina's parents, and the museum that the previous owner had of the axe house in town. Those are the only 3 houses that got hit with hail. and had damage. We're all connected to the house.
That would be nope.
Yeah, I'm like, Johnny,
Nope.
I don't know if I'm coming back. Thanks, though. Don't know
I
if
don't think
can
I
come back to
would.
you.
I
But,
don't think I would
mm-mm.
because
I was gonna say something. If you want to play the video clip, if you want to play it, it should show an SS method of mine.
everything I've touched so far has gone to the potato. So,
Let's see.
will you try it again? Because
Yeah,
okay, I'm going to take this one out.
let me pull it up on my screen here. Hold on one sec. I'm able to. Okay, hold on. Just gotta get it pulled up here. Why is it all black? Okay, hold on one sec.
All right, because Carl,
Okay.
this one that I've got in there right now, I can't. When I pull it up, it says that. Do I want to kick it from the studio?
Yeah, kick it from studio and I'll share my screen.
Oh, I don't want to kick guest. No.
Don't kick me out.
I'm not going to kick you out.
Okay, hold on one sec here. How do I share my screen? Okay, here we go.
Yay. Thank you for figuring that out.
Yeah, I was like, how do I do this? Okay, so if you, let me scroll to where I want to start. Let's see. Hold on one second. I just gotta get to the right point here. Okay. So this is at the Monroe House out in Indiana. Really well-known location. It's been on Paranormal Lockdown several times and other TV shows. And this was me with Lauren Helkinson and a couple of friends and my mom. And I'm doing Estes. So
Piccolo's going off.
How does that go?
Music. Yes, it plays
I
music.
can make it go off.
Yes, you could. We can't do that with that machine.
Can you see it? Can you tell me what color it is? Green.
Maybe you just said green over different times.
Can you tell me how many fingers I'm holding above it? 2.
You see that? Yep.
And it said 2 over different times. Can you tell me one more time?
How many fingers now?
Five.
Good, thank you. It's been 13 minutes.
You better pull up.
So that was me under Estes at the Monroe House, and Lauren was holding fingers, trying to see if I could say what number she was holding while under Estes. And we had the necrophonics going at the same time, and it was correlating with what I was saying.
That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Why did you actually start getting into a lot of people are scared of the Estes method. But you're not.
I'm not. I was at the beginning, but I think I started. Well, I've known Larry for 3 years, so it's probably around 3 years I've started doing it. And over the years, I've gotten really good at it. But I use that Estes as my time to channel. When just normal investigating, it's harder for me to connect with spirit, unless they're really close. But to Estes, I can channel and use the radio sounds to kind of channel and let spirit me step aside and let spirit come through more easily for me. So that's my way of talking with spirit, is the Estes. And for me, like I said before, sometimes it's really hard for me to come out of Estes because I'm like, my spirit is steps aside and letting other spirits channel through me.
That's pretty heavy.
Mm-hmm. And after it took them a few times for me to get out of Estes that night, especially with that session. Lauren's like, I've never seen anyone do Estes like this and be able to tell me how many fingers I held up. She was blown away that night. She goes, okay, I'll let you do it now. I don't want to do it.
Well, and it is it's an intimate connection,
Mm-hmm.
And you have to really trust the people that you're with too.
Yeah.
Because there have been instances of a leap being made.
Yep.
And I hate personally being jumped by spirit.
Oh, I hate
it.
I definitely hate it.
It's freaky.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's not, fortunately, you know who you're investigating with. I have been in a public situation where somebody didn't know what they were doing and said, and you can just use any of our energy. I'm like, no.
No.
So sorry, but my energy is mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't let people just randomly use my energy.
Right.
And everybody else.
Very first time I was ever jumped was at Waverly Hills.
Oh, that's not a good place to start.
No. So, funny story. I went in 2012. I had finished all my school assignments. It was my graduating year. And my friends were like, we're going to Waverly Hills. We're going to Bobby Mackey's. Do you want to come? And it was like the week and a half before graduation. And I was the one student who got all her schoolwork done early in the semester. So I could just do whatever I really wanted for the end of the semester. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to go to Kentucky like a week and a half before graduation and just skip school. We went. I really wasn't open at the time as a psychic medium empath at that time. So I really didn't have a lot of personal experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's Pam. Hi, Pam. And then the next summer, the summer that we went to Old South, we went to Waverly Hills as a night tour. Like my fiance at the time, now my husband, had never been, and my mom hadn't been. So we're like, okay, we're going to go on a night tour. You guys haven't been, let's go. I've been, I know the place. But at that time I was more open to my gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, but at that time I didn't know how to shut my stuff down.
Yeah.
Which that was the catalyst to all of this. And we went on tour. I was fine on the first floor, fine on the second, fine on the third, fine on the fifth. Nothing really happened. I wasn't really sensing a lot, but as close when we got to the fourth floor where the OR is, I had that intuition feeling saying, don't go, something's going to happen to you, you don't go. But you're on tour, you have to go where the tour guide goes. It's not free roam of Waverly Hills, so you do whatever you want. I'm like really apprehensive going on that fourth floor. I saw the doctor invite, the nurse invite on the fourth floor that night. But then we made our way down to the OR. And as soon as we got closer and closer, I got that feeling of, don't go, something's going to happen, you're not going to be okay. But like I said, you're on tour, you have to go where the tour guide goes. You can't go, nope, not going. I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to go be away from this energy. We walked into the OR. As soon as I stepped over the threshold of the room, it felt like my chest was being ripped open and tubing getting placed into my lungs. I literally bent over in tears, screaming, crying. I couldn't breathe. It literally felt like I was being like in surgery as a patient,
Oh my gosh, Jenny.
trying to get like treatment for TB. I got put out into the hallway, and all I remember from that time was seeing shadows circling me. It took me a good couple hours to calm down. We left, like, the next step was the death tunnel. But I'm like, I'm leaving. I can't.
No.
I can't do this somewhere.
Well, you would
The
already
tour
have been weakened, yeah.
And like the tour guide's like, what is going on with you? Like, why are you crying? Why were you hysterically crying? And so I'm like, I don't know. I felt like my chest was being ripped open and tubes getting placed in my lungs. And he goes, that's what treatment was they were trying at Waverly Hills at the time. I'm like, I didn't know that. And I've never experienced something like that. So the spirit, whoever was there at that time, was jumping into my body and making
Showing
me
you.
feel what they felt.
Yeah.
I was like, and I went back to the hotel where Scotty worked and a few other friends, because it was Mid-South at the time. You know, Mid-South was the big thing back then.
Yeah.
As I come back, my mom gets Scotty, gets Rosalind Brown, and a few other psychic friends, and they're like, what is going on? And my mom explained everything, and they're like, did you shut yourself down? I'm like, I don't know how. And Scotty looks at me, he goes, you're in deep shit. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, that was
Scotty,
deep shit.
love you. He goes, let's do a cleansing right now. You're going to go into your hotel room, take a hot soak, and just imagining rain washing all that energy away. It took me a good 2 to 3 hours to calm down.
I'm sure.
I was so worked up, and so like when I finally calmed down, I hit that pillow and I was out for that night. Like, I was so drained. I was like, the next day, Scotty's like, you're going to sit at my table. We're going to teach you how to shut your stuff down now.
Yes.
He goes, and every time I see him, he still asks me, he's like, when you go on investigations, do you cleanse yourself and do you close yourself? I'm like, yes, Scotty, I've learned from Waverly Hills what to do. But
that's such an intense thing.
That was the most scariest thing in the beginning of being open to psychic medium and my gifts. But 2021, Scotty came with me to the Palmer house, and I did an Estes sun in the basement. I channeled his dad, and his dad came through and gave him messages through me. I remember getting pulled out of Estes. Scotty Rourke is sitting there crying, and he goes, do you know what just happened? I'm like, no, because I don't remember anything from my Estes methods. He goes, your whole demeanor, your facial, your voice changed to my dad. You were channeling my dad, and you gave me messages that he would only know. I'm like,
that's cool that the beginning started that way.
Yeah.
And
so
you know,
now,
I'm sorry.
Every time I see Sky, we investigate together. His dad comes through and gives him messages through me. I'm like, okay, cool.
That's just insane.
Yeah.
Have you ever had anything else that was maybe not that intense, but when we were talking and you said, well, the first time I got jumped. What was the second one?
I've been jumped several times, like by Looney at Rock Island. I've been jumped at a few other times throughout. Like, I think I was jumped at, like, when my friend came to Wisconsin and I met him. He had been the caretaker of the Hinsdale. I was jumped and by the spirit and had a spirit attachment from there. But yeah, I was like, Waverly, I have yet to go back to Waverly yet.
I would think long and hard before I did that too.
It's been 12 years since I've been to Waverly.
That's just crazy.
I'm like, if I go back, Scotty's coming with me, Larry's coming with me, Stacy Lee's coming with me. We're going to have a good group of people who can protect my ass. Because I ain't going back without some random people.
Well, you know, I wouldn't either. And I don't really know that I would go back because your spidey sense was going off before you ever went in there.
Yeah.
So they already recognized you before you got there.
Mm-hmm. I was like, but I want to go back and confront whatever that spirit was. But at the same time, I'm like, if I have another experience like that,
What would you gain by confronting that?
trying to figure out why they did that, why they did it to me. I don't know. I just want to go back.
You were a vessel that they could use to
Yeah.
let people know how much they were suffering because they're
Yeah.
still suffering,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Yeah.
can't fix that.
Nope. I'm like, I
because they're
kind of want to
stuck
go
in it.
back now that I'm more in tune with my gifts and more knowing how to use them and protect me. I don't know if I would do an Estes method there.
I would probably not.
I won't.
Well, because of how you do them.
Yeah.
Because of how you do them. Because you use those tools to open yourself up more.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what happened before you were opening, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That was pretty flippin' intense.
Yeah. And like Stacy
And
says, she'll be coming with me if I go back. She's coming with me to Wildwood Sanitarium in July. But yeah, Stacy is a really good friend of mine. I trust her to get me out of Estes. Larry knows how to get me out of Estes. My mom, Pam does. All my East
Yeah.
Coast friends know how to get me out of Estes, except for Larry. He's more local to me.
yeah. Well, you said that Rosalind was there too. Roz is really good at stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I did not know how gifted she is.
Oh yeah, she's super
And
gifted.
and I actually she and Michael did a reading for me last year at
The bash.
at the bash. And when she was doing it, it was such because I'm hard to read as a rule.
Mm-hmm. I put
And
up barriers when I get readings to see how if they get anything. Like Stacy in December did a gallery reading, and I put up a big blockage, and I'm like, try to read me, see what happens. She goes, I can't get anything from you. I'm like, okay, so I can't put up a blockage from being not read.
Well, somebody's energy is checking things out right now, so that's funny. But I probably would just not. There's not anything you're going to gain from that, and because they'll recognize your energy when you come in too.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, I kind of want to go back because it's been so long, but at the same time, I'm like, do I want to? Now that
It's been long for you.
All of that legal stuff that had gone on a couple of years ago with
that was
Waverly has
crazy.
changed. From what I've heard, it has changed the energy of the building. So I want to go back and experience it, and I want to see Tina and Charlie because I haven't seen them since that night or 2012 when I went for the first time. I met Tina and Charlie, and I haven't seen them since. So it'll be cool to go back. And with all the new equipment and stuff we have now in these days,
wouldn't that be fun?
Like,
I get why you want to. I'll just
have really good friends with me that I can trust.
And just shield like crazy. And have protection on you too.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
But, I just think that's so interesting because it's like whoever that was had been waiting on someone.
Right.
Who, they suffered so much and they were still living in that and they just needed to show that to you.
Yep.
Maybe they didn't mean to do it to you. But I think that's true. I think that happens, don't you? I mean,
oh yeah.
I've seen this, I've experienced this where whatever it is, it's like so flippin' intense.
Right.
And it's like, could you back up a little bit? What are you doing? And whether it's sad or physical, it's still hard. Or anger. Anger shows up too.
Yeah.
And I'll just be so mad. I'll be like a wet hen and have no idea why or who I'm mad at.
Right.
And when I get out of proximity, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of like, hello. It's nice when you realize that you that you don't have to carry that with you.
Right.
So, what else you got, kiddo? You've got so many experiences, and I don't want
know,
to
right?
just say, "Tell me about this" or "Tell me about that." I want you to share. I mean, that Valeska thing, that's crazy.
That was crazy.
That would have tripped me out probably more than or as much as simply because that's bizarre. I
It
can't
is.
imagine having heard that. I would have been devastated too.
Mm-hmm. Last May I went to Penhurst for the first time and investigated during their Paracon thing, which if you get the chance, go to Penhurst Paracon. It's one of the best Paracons I've ever been to.
Yeah.
Last year they had over 8,000 people walk through the event.
Wow.
It was crazy. I think I did 28 or photos that whole weekend, so about 12 and 12 each day. It was crazy. Like, it was nonstop people. Like, how they have it set up, I was amazed because that was my first time going to Penhurst Paracon was last year. And Penhurst has always been on my bucket list, so I'm like, when I got into Penhurst Paracon, I'm like, game on. Like,
That's Bob and Gina's, right?
yep, Bob and Gina
Yeah.
help it. Yep. Like, I had such an amazing time last year at Penhurst. We're going back this year in May. But last year I went on the public ghost hunt Friday night with a friend of mine at the time, and we were in Mayflower, I think, and we were talking to something up on the main floor, and through the spirit box it said go to the basement. We went down to the basement, and somebody had the off list going when we walked into the basement, and they're like, who's down here? Me and my friend are like, okay, I don't know what they're doing. They're doing some type of session with the off list, and I don't really trust the off list as much.
Yeah, I have
but
issues with that.
when we walked in, they're like, who's down here with us? And through the off list, it comes up with demon. My friend seriously ran out that door, up the stairs, outside, without even telling me he was leaving. I
Oh
turned
my
around
gosh.
and I'm like, where the hell did you go? And I walked outside, and he goes, yeah, I ditched you. I'm like, no shit. He goes,
Yeah,
that demon
had
where
a
I came out,
clue.
I'm out. I don't deal with that. I'm like, I don't deal with that, but I don't leave my friends behind.
He could have grabbed your hand, right, and gone on.
Right? I'm like, dude. But we had
That's
some really
funny.
cool experiences down in the tunnels of Penhurst. And like they capped at 150 people for the investigations during the event. I literally probably ran into probably 10 people that night. Like, it's such a big place. You don't run into people on the public investigations. It was so amazing. Like,
That's
this
crazy.
feels like a private investigation, but you know there's like 100-something people walking around the campus of Penhurst. But
That's
I never
wild.
saw them. I literally never saw anyone. Like, it was
That's excellent.
so, yeah. And it's nice because they give you free reign. Any of the buildings that are open, you can go and do whatever you want. You can go to Mayflower, you can go to Tenham, you can go to the hospital, you can go to the other buildings and investigate. You don't have to be in like a group, you don't have to stay with a group. You get free reign of Penhurst, basically. But if the
So
building
cool.
closed down, you don't get into it. But they had it clearly marked with gates and stuff of what buildings were open. So I'm super excited to go back this year. I don't know if I'll do the investigation again, since it's like $200, but it was worth it for me. Because I don't have to pay the $2,000 private investigation fee.
Well, and there were like you said, it's big enough that the contamination wasn't a deal.
Yeah.
I
I
think
I
that sounds
really ran into
perfect.
anyone at Penhurst during that investigation. So that was a big bucket list check off for me was Penhurst. And I remember going in, I think Thursday to set up, and I was like, as soon as you get onto the property of Penhurst, you just feel the sadness and the depression. I'm
Oh
like,
no.
this is crazy. The energy at Penhurst is crazy. So I'm like, shut myself down. Can't pick it up. I shut myself down so fast that weekend. But it was
Oh yeah.
interesting. Over 800 people or 8,000 people walked through that event. It was crazy. And throughout the event, they had different buildings open to. They have like I think 3 different ticket levels, like the basic, the medium. I don't remember what they all call it. And then you have like the master ticket, which you get into all of the buildings that are open, which is really cool.
Well, that's so special. And yeah, I want to tell Gina, thanks for being here. She enjoyed your experiences. So, but she has pups that are insistent. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's really funny because Bob and Gina are friends of mine. And I see them at Gettysburg, but I have
Yep.
to get back because I have dogs also, like Gina,
Mm-hmm.
and a husband that's trying to run a business and take care of everything at the house too while I'm gone. So that's a little crazy for him.
Yeah, right.
But I think that it's so hard to go away from the bash because I love what all it supports.
Right.
I'm all about helping kids with cancer. I'm all about wounded warriors. I mean, it's everything that matters to me,
Mm-hmm.
or a lot of things that matter to me, not
Yeah.
everything. So, and I have a history there. And we've got all these pictures that you've taken. Thank you, Carl.
Yes.
So I'm going to, Carl, do you want to just pull them up or you want, where is this?
I believe that is Randolph County Asylum in Indiana.
Was it active?
I just went for a day tour. I went to the asylum. I went
Yeah.
to Stone Mansion, and then I went to the jail, all owned by the same people.
Mm-hmm.
So we went on 3 day tours that day.
Is
So we were
this
about
where it's set up as, I may be thinking of the wrong place. Is it set up as a village or is that
No, that's Billy Creek that you're thinking of.
Yes, it is.
This
Oh,
is
that's pretty.
Penhurst in one of the buildings. Don't ask me which one. I have no idea.
That's a great photo, Jenny.
Thank you.
I told you before we started, I just love these.
St.
Okay.
Augustine. I went on Halloween a couple years ago and investigated St. Augustine Lighthouse.
I love that lighthouse. I just don't like it because there's no rails.
Right.
It makes me nervous.
This is Eloise Asylum, which I'm gonna go back to next month.
Where's that?
It's right outside of Detroit, Michigan. This is Eloise as well, looking back from the opposite way of the other photo.
That's beautiful. Don't you love getting into some of these old places?
Right. This is Penhurst. I think this is the Mayflower building. This is Penhurst. I think the same building. I think.
It's very dramatic.
Missouri State Pen, the gas chamber.
I'm going to put my old lady glasses on real quick.
This is Indiana State Sanitarium.
So,
this is Indiana State Sanitarium as well.
how large is that?
Indiana is a big place. Like, there's multiple buildings on the property that you can investigate. There's a nursing home. There's a insane asylum. The superintendent's building. They have a laundry building. They have a mansion, like used to be like the superintendent mansion that the family used to live in. It's a huge building. Like I literally checked in at 5:00 that day, and I did not stop investigating until 8 a.m. the next morning.
Good
Nonstop.
heavens, that is big.
I did not sleep that night. That's Hinsdale. This is Missouri State Pen in one of their cells. This is Wildwood Sanitarium.
Say it again.
This is Wildwood Sanitarium.
Because when I saw that picture, I was so moved. And out of all the pictures that you sent me, they're all great. Mm-hmm. This one actually spoke to me. It's unbelievable. I love that.
I love this photo. I was like, I have to take pictures of this, and then I edited it a little bit, and it just made it pop more.
Yeah.
I think this is Bushy Mountain, I believe.
Really?
I think it's Bushy Mountain. This is Eloise, I believe.
Is that it? That's it.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I love going to the old buildings and taking photos. And everybody looks at me when I'm like on the ground taking like the weird shots. I'm like, just wait until you see them edited. Then it makes sense. Like every time I go to like the Hoover House and I start posting pictures, Pam's like automatically sharing it out, making it on their profile pics and stuff. She's like, I'm sharing all your photos. Like any photos you take of the Hoover House, it gets automatically sent to the Facebook page.
Well, that's such a pretty place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I love the Hoover House. I've been there 2 or 3 times now, and I'm going back before the bash to investigate it as a private. And Pam's like, you come, you get a room. Like, you don't even have to ask to come out. I'm like, oh, one day I'm just going to show up at your place.
Show up on the doorstep. They'll be fine with that.
Like
they really would be fine with that. They're so nice. Right?
I love Pam and Steve. Pam and Steve have become like my family. Like, I went in December for their big Christmas event, and I was sharing a room with Stacy Lee. So I was sleeping on the couch. The first night, Stacy's blankets were being pulled off, and this last night of the trip, my blankets were being pulled off by the spirits. Wow. And like I was hearing spirits like talk in my ear. I'm like, stop, I need to go to bed. I have to be up and get on the plane soon. And you guys are just talk. I'm like, oh my God.
That's when they always want to chat.
I remember getting in the car on the way to the airport, and I passed out in the back seat of her car. I'm like I did not get sleep that night.
You know, I think that's funny because it's actually very funny because when they get in the mood to chat, they just chat. You can't shut them up, right?
Nope.
I mean, not without completely shutting you down, but then that's kind of rude.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
If they're not being obnoxious. But well, what all do you have coming up? Because I know that your schedule is packed. So tell people a little bit about what you're going to do.
Let me pull up my list here. Hold on one sec. I always look at my list because I'm like, what do I have coming up? Like, it's crazy.
I love your list.
Like, I had to the point that I followed what Larry Eisler does and makes like a graphic for Facebook of where I'm going to be at, what events, what investigations I have.
Yeah.
So let me see here. Hold on. So the next event I'm going to be at is the Battleship the Booze on the Battleship. That's April 26th. But I'll be at the Eclair Paracon that Friday, April 11th as well. And then I have Pennhurst in May. I have FCICon at Fairfield County Infirmary in June. I have Paranormal Lockdown at Broadhead Manor in July, the weekend before Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. And then I have Gettysburg that following weekend. And then I have ISSCon, which is at Billy Creek and Indiana State Sanitarium in August. And then I have SailCon in Chicago, September 19th to the 20th. And then I have a local event here in Minnesota called the Boyd Paracon, which is at the Boyd House in Boyd, Minnesota. And then I have a Ira Paracon in October, and then I have a Dorks Art and Oddities event in November in Illinois. Those are big public events so far.
Right.
Probably be adding more to it, but with investigations, I have Eloise next month, which I'm super, super, super excited to go to, because when I went just as a day tour last year, we were hearing voices, we were hearing screaming, I was seeing shadows, so I'm super excited to get back for 6 hours and be locked in. Then I have North Carolina Battleship, and then I'll go to Savannah. I have Wright Hill Mansion up in New Jersey the day before Pennhurst Paracon. And then in May, I'm doing a triple investigation, which is 3 investigations back to back. One is at Ashmore's, one is at Rhodes Hotel, and then one is at Pine Lawn Manor, which I'm super excited about. And then June, I have OSR. And then I have Fairfield County Infirmary as a private investigation in July, the Hoover House, and then Rainworth Lodge. And then we leave Gettysburg and head up to New York to do Wildwood Sanitarium. And then I do ISS, Indiana State Sanitarium, after their big event in August. And then I have the Washoe Club in October. That's what I have so far. I'm adding
I think you're going to have so much fun. But I think I would be very excited about the Washoe Club.
Right?
Have you been?
I've never been. And I run the private investigation at Michigan Paracon last year. So I'm like, I put money towards it. I won it. And now I just have to get there and do a private. And it's like overnight investigation at the Washoe Club. I'm like, yes.
Do you know Michelle LeBaron?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Are you going to catch up with her while you're out there?
Oh, yeah. She says she's going to come with me.
Yeah. She is so...
Me and her finally met in person at Block Island last October and hit it off. Like, we've been friends on Facebook for several years, but never met. We kicked it off right away at Block Island. And I'm like, I won an investigation at Washoe. You're coming with me. She goes, game on. I'm like, we're going to go to Nevada State Prison, too. She's like, game on. I'm like, cool.
I think you're going to have so much spirit activity between the two of you. Can you imagine what's going to be coming up with the two of you?
Mm-hmm.
That'll be so much fun. I'm going to want to see video of that.
Right. I'm excited for the Washoe Club because that's been a bucket list location for me. Is the Washoe, because it's like everyone has gone there. Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, Nick and Katrina, Project Fear. I'm like, I need to go experience this. Like,
yes. Well, I think that's just going to be so much fun. What do you have left on your bucket list after this?
Alcatraz is definitely a bucket list item. Trans-Allegheny, West Virginia Penitentiary. Definitely Old Harriman, because Ronnie keeps asking me when
I know, right? I'm in such a doghouse.
I'm like, keep hosting the event, ask me to be a guest, give me some cash money to come down, and I'm there.
Yeah. He's so fun.
I love Ronnie. He's amazing.
I do too. He's
telling him he needs to open a location up here in Minnesota, and I'll run it for him.
Well, don't count him out.
Right?
He is such an he's such a go-getter. And we're
Oh,
talking
he
about Ronnie
is.
D, who owns Old South Pittsburgh and the old Harriman Hospital in
Mhm.
Tennessee. But he really is such a go-getter. He is
Oh,
a
he is.
good human. He's a nice man. He is totally about what's happening in his locations. You know, it's nice to come across somebody like that. And it's so
Mhm.
much better than when we were first at Old South Pittsburgh.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that first time. Oh my God. I'm so glad Ronnie bought it.
I know, right? Well, I mean, it was seriously that last night. Seriously, it was the last night before they locked the doors. I did not know I was in a condemned building, right?
Right?
But and I mean, it was all of the Wraith Chasers before they split.
Mhm.
And like Chris and Mike are just Wraith Chasers now, and you know, Diggy and his crew are the fearless ones. But you know, it's so interesting when I flash back to those dynamics. I mean, because I had the elevator bell ding when I
Right?
did a live broadcast from there, like years ago, back, you know, when I started.
Right?
And, but I was set up by the elevators and people were investigating while I was doing my show. And that elevator dinged. You know, those
Mhm.
things don't open.
Nope.
And I was just like, did that just happen?
Right?
And she was like, it did. I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. That was pretty cool.
Right.
But I never had any kind of a bizarre or uncomfortable feeling anytime I was ever there, even
No,
with it in the
like,
shape it was in.
it was funny because we went, I think it wasn't last, I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before. Me and my friend went down in December when they hosted a charity event. And it's
Mm-hmm.
the middle of December, like the beginning of December. You wouldn't think of tornadoes, but I guess in
Well,
Nashville,
yeah.
you get tornadoes in December.
You get
And
them down here too.
I'm like, we were just talking to Josh Purvis and JB, and all of a sudden, all of our phones went off with tornado warnings.
Yeah.
And Ronnie's running around the building like, if a tornado comes, we're all going to the big freezers. I'm like, what?
You would go to the chapel, is where you would go.
I was like, okay. And it was like we were watching the wind outside the windows. We're like,
Yeah.
holy shit. And it didn't do much. The tornadoes mostly hit in Nashville, which is like an hour and
Yeah.
a half from Old South.
Yeah. And that was a
But
doozy of a
Ronnie's
tornado.
like, Ronnie's like, I'm gonna run around the building if a tornado, the warning comes and the sirens go off. We're all going into the cafeteria, lunchroom area, and getting into the freezers. I'm like, okay, but
Too
it definitely
funny.
spiked energy that night, and it was
I'm
funny because we
sure.
were in the old waiting room, of the hospital, and I was doing Estes, and I guess I was talking in German, which I don't know German at all.
Right.
I was like, I came out and everybody's like, you were talking German. I'm like, what? And I guess German people are known to haunt Old South. I'm like, wait, what?
Well, there was some Polish and some German there.
Yeah. I was like,
But
okay, never spoke German in my life before, but I guess I did at Old South.
there you go. You're bilingual.
Right? Only
But
during Estes.
there you go. But we're out of time. I did not realize how close it was. Thank you so much for being here, Jenny. I had so much fun with you.
Thank you. Anytime, I'll come on.
Anytime I will call you and say, come on.
Right?
But I will see you in Gettysburg.
Yes.
So I can't wait. I'm going to have so much fun.
Oh, absolutely.
And thank you for your time and for sharing everything. This was great for me. I enjoyed you.
It was amazing. Thank you.
And for everyone listening, thank you so much. We will see you next week. Same cat time, same cat channel. Be blessed. Good night.